Who was Tom Quilty? In 1966, in a hotel long gone and forgotten at the top of Martin Place, a group of horse riding enthusiasts gathered to discuss the country's first 100-mile endurance ride. It was to be called the Tom Quilty Cup after its patron, and it was presided over by R.M. Williams, South Australia's famous Stockman's outfitter. The tabloid press, as was its habit and as it remains its habit today, caused a fuss over the perceived cruelty of a 100-mile ride. But even so, the first meeting was heated by this threat. But even with this matter put into the past, the people who joined the National Endurance Ride 10 and 20 years later still asked, Tom who? Thomas John Quilty OBE was a legend throughout the north of Australia. In stockfire camps, when stockmen gathered by the fireside at night, the mention of his name brought a hushed silence. He was the master. In his family companies, Quilty and Sons and Quilty Brothers, he was the head of the most successful pastoral company in Queensland. But he reminded people that he was a homegrown pastoralist, and that companies like Kidman and Anglers were conglomerates. In 1917, he had reached a ranking third only to these companies. In a drought later on, the Kidman Anglers conglomerate attempted to force the small pastoralists into selling up. There was great unsettlement and an uprising in the district. This matter reached a head when the Iffley Stockman pastoralist from a Kidman holding put 100 cattle into the waterhole at Claraville, a Quilty holding. Tom Quilty said, "It was water which we badly needed, and the Iffley cattle were drinking it wholesale, and they were polluting the water while they were doing so." This ultimately reached the Supreme Court of Queensland in Brisbane. There were riots in the streets as the settlers conflicted with the Iffley stockmen arriving for the trial. There were actual fights and lots of booing and hissing, and there was lots of news about it. And you can imagine in the courthouse with Paddy Quilty taking the witness stand. He takes the oath and he sits down, and the judge asks him, "Well, Mr. Quilty, please describe for us the situation at Claraville Waterhole, which you allege caused your family to lose water and to have that water polluted." "Well, Your Honour, I certainly gave the Iffley head stockman plenty of indication I wanted him to move." "Well," the judge says, what did the Iffley head stockman say to that?" "Well, Your Honour, the Iffley head stockman turned out to be a bit of a character. All he said was, 'What are you going to do about it?'" "Well, Mr. Quilty, That was rather the smart aleck of him. And what did you say to that? Well, Your Honour, I thought I was in a position more to say, and what are you going to do about it? Well, Mr. Quilty, and then what did he say to that? Well, his response, Your Honour, was to say simply, nothing. So you can see that the Quiltys were influential enough to get their case into court, and it was of great benefit to the smaller landholders who were without much power to wield against the Kidman Angus group. But meanwhile, Tom Quilty was with the Minister of Agriculture asking for the laws regarding holdings related to the notion of squatting to be changed. A situation had arisen where the very socialistic Premier of Queensland at the time, whose name I forget, please look him up for me, and that he had said you cannot own more than 500 hectares of grazing land, and so on, whatever. But Tom Quilty reminded that what was emerging was a process called dummying. The head of the family and the family company would have to bring the sisters and the mother and the aunties in so that they could own enough land to run stock on arid country. The Minister for Agriculture was so impressed that they went down to the nearby hotel and had a drink over it. But if you want to hear more, come back next Tuesday and we'll explain it all. And subscribe likewise, hit the thing with the bell, and we'll describe it all for you.
Fair and free, my boys, the wind is fair and free. The steamer's heading north, my boys, and the Palmer we will see. And the Palmer we will see, my boys, and Cooktown's muddy shore, where I've been told there's lots of goals, so stay down south no more. So blow you winds, I-oh, a-digging we will go. I'll stay down south no more, my boys, so let the music play. In spite of what I'm told, I'm off in search of gold, and making a push for that new rush 1,000 miles away. So let us make a move, my boys, for that new promised land, and do the best we can, my boys, to lend a helping hand. To lend a helping hand, my boys, where the soil is rich and new. In spite of all those unknown tracks, we'll show what we can do. So blow you winds, I-oh,